Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining this week's coffee chat. I'm really excited because today we have two guests, Skyler and Giuseppe. And I connected with Skyler recently. She was telling me all about their beautiful story of deciding to take over the traditional family olive farm and keeping that going, and her journey, kind of starting a second life in Italy. And I know that olive oil, I mean, just personally, and I hear it from my friends all the time, we have difficulty in the US finding quality olive oils and just understanding, maybe we know the taste because we've had good olive oil before, but we don't know when we're shopping what to look for, what kind of labels, what kind of markings, reading which country it's from. So I wanted to just do this olive oil 101 with Skyler and Giuseppe from EXAU Olive Oil to kind of give us some tips and framework for what to look for and how to understand what makes an olive oil high quality. So I see, Skyler, you just took a sip of, was that coffee? Yeah.
It's iced tea. But it looks like coffee. Now that we're in Texas, I'm really into sweet tea, but it's too sweet for me. And I like it with almond milk, or oat milk, excuse me.
Yeah, oat milk is the best. I've got decaf with oat milk right here. So awesome. Okay, so can you guys give us kind of your spiel? What is EXAU olive oil? How did you two come together? And what are you trying to do with your company?
So I'm Skyler, this is Giuseppe, and we founded EXAU Olive Oil at the very end of December 2017. And Giuseppe is a third generation olive oil producer. My background's in the design and the wine industry. And we both love olive oil. When Giuseppe came to the US, he found, well, you can explain here, but when you first came to the US.
I didn't have so much choice for my oil. I wasn't very pleased with what I found. So I call my mom and I say, Mom, send me something here.
December 2017. And Giuseppe is a third generation olive oil.
And so I started to talk with Skyler about it. And some friend heard me that I was going to import some product from Italy. And they say, can I have some? So in that moment, I realized it could be a good business, this one. So I start to involve the Skyler and say, what do you think about the olive oil business? And she was like, hell no, I don't have a lot of background with this. So she started my idea started to dig inside her brain, like a little Carlo. And after a while, she went to her friend to work in her winery, and she started to like it, the world of the agricultural things. It's very complex, but in a certain moment, I thought she was ready, so we combined all the information that we had, and we create this kind of product.
You thought I was ready?
Yeah, you were.
Oh, okay, Yoda.
I love that. That's beautiful. So your family was already producing olive oil for how many years has this been, or how many generations has
it's 3 generations. So my grandpa started a long time ago, and my dad planted tree also in the property, and we planted a new tree like 2 years ago, and we are planning to plant more quality, more cultivars. We'll see what happens. But the job of my family wasn't to produce olive oil. They had other job. The olive oil was just the memory of my grandfather kept alive doing this kind of business together, you know. So it was a moment that create the environment for the family to stay together, all together, and do the harvest together. It was beautiful. It was very romantic.
Oh, it's so sweet. Yeah. So your family was just kind of doing it as a tradition because back then everyone had their olives or their grapes or both, and you just made your own batch, your own production for your family use.
Yes.
But then you guys you decided to actually build a career out of this, to build a company, to save Americans and bring us some good olive oil.
You said it, not us.
Yeah, because
went.
we had so much olive oil available. We put olive oil everywhere. So I say, why not? We have it. So
Mhm.
it's good. So
Wow, we appreciate you. So tell us about EXAU and when you. So I know real. I mean, I'm like familiar with olive oil, but when you're building a brand, I imagine just like when you're trying to find like the product market fit, you decide like, okay, we're going to be low quality but super cheap, or we're going to be high quality and luxury but amazing. So what was your process like in trying to figure that out? I mean, I know Italians already are super big on quality everything, so I know that that was probably your top of mind and your focus to make a really good olive oil. But in terms of creating this business, where did you start and what makes your oil a bit different than what's on the market?
for me, the olive oil is the base. I mean, the Italian kitchen, everything is about the ingredients. So high ingredients, and you have a really good plate. It doesn't matter what how complex is the plate. For example, I have a clove of garlic, 2 Italian tomatoes, and olive oil, and the taste is perfect if you have like really high quality ingredient. Makes the difference. So we based on that part, and from that we develop all this.
And I think that, so you'll be very familiar with this. So marketing in the US and Italy are very different. In Italy, there's a lot of businesses that are just now getting Instagram, just now getting Facebook. And a lot of the marketing that they did before was just word of mouth. Like they don't have a marketing budget. They don't have this grand scheme to get their products into people's kitchens. It's just, this is what we make. We do it really well. Here's the label that we put on it. And if you like it, buy it. If you don't, then don't buy it. And we took part of that mentality and then applied more my design skills. So that really went into the branding for the business and thinking about what foundation did we want to build for EXAU, and then how could we move forward and move up from there. So we want it to be very simple, clean, straightforward, cutting through all of the kind of like smoke and mirrors that you encounter in this industry, and just bring that to people. Say, hey, we make high quality extra virgin olive oil, use it for X, Y, and Z. Here's the acidity level. Here's the lab testing that we do. Here's the right information. And then have that also be reflected in the label. That's why our labels are so simple. And that's why our bottles are just very clean. And I think people appreciated that. There's no fluff.
Yeah, you can definitely see how your two cultures and your two, like your design background, your farming background, and your tradition background are perfectly blending to create this beautiful opportunity. So let's back up for just a second for our audience members. I don't think we kind of told them, Skyler, where you're from originally and where you guys live. Where's your... Oh, did I cut out?
Yeah, you did.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna wait for you to come back.
Uh-oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So I was just saying, I don't think we introduced the audience to Skyler, where you're from originally, how you guys got together, where do you live, and where's your farm?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Oakland, California. And my background has always been in the design industry. So I always want to be an architect when I was young. And I went to architecture school. I had an internship in Barcelona at an architecture firm. And it was during that internship, I went to Rome for the weekend. And I met Giuseppe while he was living and working and studying in Rome. And that's where our two worlds merged. So if it hadn't been for that internship through that professor, I would have never met him and have an olive oil business. And then Giuseppe, why don't you tell them where you're from?
I'm from Calabria, the southern part of Italy.
It's that part.
Kind of the plant. Yeah, the base of the booth. And but I used to live in Rome for several years. And like Skyler introduced already, we met in Rome. And from there started like a really deep love story that kind of crossed two countries, two different worlds in one.
It's too romantic. I can't take it. Like, wait, where's my Giuseppe? Sorry, go ahead. You're just making all the Americans blush right now.
And what about your hometown?
My hometown is called De La Castella. It's a very small town, and during the winter we are 1,400 people. During the summer we are about 60,000. It's a very touristic place, and it's famous because there is like a little castle, it's pretty big, but there's this castle in the water. So it's very, very cool. It's very cool.
I'm gonna have to look that one up after. That's amazing. So is that the town where your farm is?
It's my farm is there. It's 1 mile about from our house.
Yeah. So when we're producing oil, we're harvesting and pressing. Everything that we're doing is within about 5 to 10 miles. So it's everything's really close together.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you guys watching, I just want to mention that Giuseppe, Skyler, and I are kind of working together to hopefully create some immersive experiences for you guys to go experience their farm and actually stay and visit that area that's off the beaten path. So stay tuned for that. And this is live on Facebook. I have trouble. We have to broadcast it from Zoom when we're with multiple people. So I'm not able to see the comments live. I always have that issue. I've got to figure that out. But please leave us comments as we're chatting. If something's resonating with you or you're loving what you're hearing or you have a question, please leave it in the comments and we will definitely answer it afterwards. So awesome. Let's dive into a little bit about the actual olive oil and how to determine if it's quality oil or not.
Go ahead. You can go.
Okay, I'll go. So when you're shopping for oil, this is always one of the biggest questions that we get. It's how do you know if an olive oil is high quality when you're shopping for it? So when you're looking for oil at a grocery store, I'll use this bottle as our sample. You want to first look for a very dark bottle. So you can see, I'm holding up to the light, this bottle is very dark. I can barely see through it. And it's completely sealed. See this top? This is a DOP top, and this is regulated in Europe. So this is a very, very high quality top. Next, we want to look for the country of origin and or a state. So on our labels, we just have product of Italy, but if you go onto our website, it has all the information about how we produce our oils. We're also very transparent on social media, so you can see us going through the whole harvesting process. Point is that information should be very easy to get. Next, look for a harvest date. So a harvest date, can you see that? It should be on the back of the bottle, and it should just have a month and a year. So essentially the harvest date is telling us consumers when was the oil harvested, and that should not be confused with a bottle date, because some bottles have bottle date on it, but a harvest date is something completely separate than that. And if you have a bottle that says harvested October 2019, bottled December 2019, that's totally fine. But then again, those are two different things. So harvest date's very, very important. The best by date is always going to be a suggestion on the back of the bottle. While olive oil never technically goes bad, it does become rancid. So if you're letting your bottle of olive oil sit in your cabinet for 2 years, it's rancid. When you buy it, you should use it. After the bottle's opened and you're consuming it, for the peak flavor profiles, it should be consumed between 30 and 40 days. And what else am I forgetting?
And after there is the testing.
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh wait, acidity level.
Okay.
Bonus points for acidity level. So we have acidity level on the back of our bottles. And if the acidity level, like in the future, when as a company grows, they're not always going to be able to have the acidity levels on their labels, but the acidity levels can be found on their website. So in the future, our acidity levels will most likely only be on the website, but it'll always be under the name of the oil. So it'll be like Tutti at exauoliveoil.com, and then it'll have the harvest date and acidity level there. So then again, this is just about transparency and lab testing and making sure you're making that company's creating really high quality products.
Yeah, just that was the step when you go in a grocery store. And after, when you come at home, of course, you have to open and taste it. As the wine, you need to have 4 steps: nose, mouth, tongue, and throat. For the olive oil, when you put in your nose, it has to be floral, it has to smell fresh, no stinky or weird taste. It has to be just when you open it, you should smell it.
Okay.
After the nose, you have the mouth. So on the mouth, on the lips, has to be sweet at the beginning. And after, there's the tongue. On the tongue, start to get bitter, very bitter. And after the tongue, there is the throat, and there is going to be pungent. So the pungent is developed by the antioxidant, the polyphenols. Higher polyphenol, higher is pungent. It's more pungent.
Wow, this is amazing. There's so much.
Yeah.
But of course, every single olive oil has its particular characteristic.
Right. I was going to say, I know that I've tasted olive oil right after it was made, and it's always spicy. You know, it's always like that fresh press has a kick to it.
Yeah.
But then as it mellows out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it can be described, if there's anyone here that hasn't experienced that sensation before when consuming extra virgin olive oil, try tasting it out of a little shot glass. So you can heat the shot glass, and it should be a high quality oil. You should kind of like put the shot glass in your hand, heat it in your hand, cover it, smell it, taste it. And it can be described as a pepperiness, a tingling on the back of your throat, or it can be very spicy.
Amazing. Okay, so many tips. So when you're talking just about the bottle itself, you're talking about the cap. So I think most of the ones that I typically see are just kind of a twist off cap. Is that a no-go, or is that okay?
For me, from my point of view, this kind of top is better to pour the olive oil, because if you notice, some of them with the screw top normal, the quantity that came out is a lot.
Okay.
It's the same for the air that can come inside. So when you pour gently, when it goes slower, kind of the air has more difficulty. It's more difficult to come in. In fact, if you can use it, it's going to be very, very slow. Normal top, normally the air goes in and out like very fast.
Yep, that makes sense. Okay. And I know I try to look at the origin. Sometimes it has the DOP label where it says it's from Italy. So it's kind of like a sticker that will go from the top of the lid down to the glass part. If you guys look for that, and it has some printed
Yes.
I'm not sure what they say. That has the country and some little things that they use for importing it.
That is particular connection on the kind of olive. So there is that olive grow all in that area. So that has a mark of DOP or IGP.
Right. Okay. Yes. Can you explain the difference between DOP and IGP?
Oh, this is very deep. We will never finish. So the word stay for the origin of protege, and say that that product is protected. So lives just right there.
Okay, so for you guys watching, it's kind of like the idea that champagne can only come from the Champagne, France. If it's made outside of Champagne, then it's not called champagne, it's something else. So this is a similar concept.
Indicazione geografica tipica, it's stabilized that product can grow in that region, in that place. You can find in this place.
Right.
It's similar, kind of similar, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and then the dark bottle, I assume that has to do with how much light can reach the oil.
Exactly. So olive oil deteriorates with light and heat. So that's the other reason you shouldn't be keeping a bottle of olive oil next to the stove. It should always be kept in a cool, dark place. So up in a cabinet, in your pantry, just don't forget about it if you put it up in your pantry or in a cabinet. But just protect your oils. Definitely do not leave them next to the stove or the oven.
Gotcha, that's important. Can you keep them in your fridge? I have a friend that keeps it in the fridge, and it
Not a good idea.
Damage.
I didn't, so I'll have to let her know that. And then you mentioned that you shouldn't keep it for more than 2 years. I have to say, my dad's a little bit of a doomsday prepper. I mean, not hardcore, but we have some things he's stocked up on, and I think it was Y2K. He stocked up on a bunch of olive oil that already was not good quality. So
It's gonna be vinegar now.
yeah.
He should open it and smell it. Very, very rancid oil stinks. It smells like salami, cheese, vinegar, and I would not consume it. That's not something that would be eaten in our house. So
Contaminates your dish
yeah.
when you cook it. You smell it. It's gonna be stinky.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to ask you about, I noticed you have different olive oils. You have, like you mentioned, Turi, and then you have different ones. So is it similar to wine in that there's going to be different vintages? Is that what it's, each year has a different name, or how is that?
So the difference between olive oil and wine is that wine is aged. And the process for making both products is very similar. That's why I felt very comfortable making that lateral move from making wine over to making olive oil. The thing is, with olive oil, you have a much stricter timeline, because the minute the oil comes out of the press, it's go time. It's like, okay, so how quickly, but with integrity, of course, can we get this product into the customer's hands? And we have a very strict method that we follow before our products get into our customers' hands, but that's the main difference. It's the aging. And so the 3 different oils that you're seeing are different blends, and they each have different flavor profiles. And Giuseppe takes the lead on creating our blends. He takes the lead on during harvest, the most important time of year, which is actually starting at the end of next month, which is crazy.
Yeah.
We're back in. So you tell them about harvest. Or tell them what the varietals.
So we have several varietals, but depends on the year and about the farming situation with the bugs that we have to deal with. We do certain kind of oils. Normally, the one that is very monocultivar is the Ebus, which is based only on Carolea olives, which is a kind of varietal that grow within 70 kilometers in Calabria. That is a natural place, but you can find also in other regions right now. For me, Carolea, I'm very attached with this kind of plant. I call the queen of the press, because when it goes inside, you smell this green apple all around you. It's insane. It's beautiful.
Oh, man, I want to come when you guys are pressing.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The press, sometimes it gets a little bit warm around some of the equipment, and so it makes the smell stronger.
Wow.
Not hot, because again, we're with producing extra virgin olive oil, there's a max temperature that you can press the oils at, but it's almost like it's infusing the air with the green apple.
Wow. So you should bottle that up and make a perfume too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So and after we have other 2 that are busted in different product per tea, and they have different varietal too. The Turi, for example, is Carolea and Coratina, which you can find in Calabria, but also in Puglia. The Coratina is very particular and very famous in Puglia. And after we have the Lina, which is a blend of Nocellera del Bedice, Coratina, and Carolea. So all three has a different notes and different flavor. We put this kind of plant together because we favor the natural impollination, because the tree are like auto-fertile, are called, which they don't need any impollination. They bring the impollination to the other tree, and some tree are auto-sterile, so they need the impollinator to connect with them and to make more flower for the blooming process.
This is great because, sorry, I'm checking on my phone to see if we have comments so we can respond. This is great because Americans, as far as we're concerned, there are black olives and there are green olives, and that's pretty much it. So it's really interesting to hear all the different varieties and how each one has different flavors, and that you actually work with the properties of each to create a blend and create your own flavor, similarly to how people make wine. So that's really cool.
And also the harvesting process is not just a couple days and it's done. And that's what I think is really what we think in the US. That's what we think in the US is happening over in Italy. It's like, okay, they harvested for like 3 days and now they're done for the rest of the year. No.
Yeah.
Calabria produces almost 1/3 of all of Italy's olive oil. Harvest is from September all the way to December. Like the presses don't shut down until Christmas.
No, after. Sometimes longer. January. Depends of the cultivar. Some people harvest also later, around December and January. Depends on the location also. Yeah. Normally in the mountains, harvest later. Just the time to make the olive more kind of bigger and produce more oil.
Yeah. But again,
so some varieties are ripe at a different time. Okay. And then some are growing at different elevations, so they're ripening at a different time. Yeah. So therefore, you have these different stages of the presses in work.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see and to also taste, because you can go to our property and taste our trees are coastal trees. So our property is sitting up on a cliff, a little bit set back from the cliff, and the trees have a beautiful view of the Ionian Sea, and they're very fortunate and spoiled. And so they're getting that coastal breeze, and it's really hot because they're only slightly above sea level. But then you go into the mountains where it's usually cooler, and they have olive trees up there, but they take longer to ripen. The olives take longer to ripen. And so you're getting these completely different flavor profiles. They grow completely different varietals. And it is just the span and flavors is wild to see. And also the coloring of the olives. Like, we went into the mountains a couple years ago to look at some olives, and they were still green in December.
Wow.
So amazing.
For you guys that don't know, you typically harvest in October, right? So for there to be olives that are still not ready to be harvested in December is wild.
Yeah.
We advance the harvest of 1 month and a half. Normally supposed to be in late November. We do in early October, end of September, just because we would like to have some flavor that are different respect the standard. And it's amazing the difference that you notice between 2 weeks. The taste of the olive are totally different from the same properties, like crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy, beautiful.
That's awesome. So if you're blending these different varieties to create these different flavors, so you press the olives, and let's say another variety is not ready to be pressed yet. How are you storing the oil until you're ready to bottle it? Or do you always just like bottle it right away?
It's a good question. Sometimes I have to create the blend before, to make the step easy, before to crush.
So we'll harvest multiple varietals in one day, and then they're crushing together. So the oils are essentially being blended in the press. So we're not, oftentimes we're not blending oils after they've come out of the press. But then again, it depends. It changes every year, right?
Sometimes I do the other step, like you said, and I have to blend together. But when you blend together, at the beginning, the taste is like you want. But olive oil doesn't have the same behavior of the wine that you mix and is there. Olive oil changes continuously. It's evolves and can be bad taste or can be way awesome, but it's so weird. It's makes you crazy.
It makes you really crazy.
It makes you crazy.
We, as an example, so 2017 harvest was our very first harvest, and we had the Calabria olive. This was the first tutti that we produced, and it came out super bright green, like lime green, almost yellowish, and was really dense in this little bottle that we kept in the house. And we would use that to make popcorn. And it tasted like someone had put olive oil in the popcorn and lemon. So it was, I remember it, like I remember that flavor profile, and I remember the scent to this day. It was lemon olive oil. But we didn't crush the lemons at all. That's just what the oil tasted like. And then as we moved along further in the decantation process and we bottled, it changed. And that's what happens with oil, it changes. And so even now, when we open one of the bottles that we bottled back in December, the flavor profiles, they remain the same, but they like evolve. Almost as like a living being that's changing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it must be difficult to write the description about them if you're not sure in a few weeks what it's gonna be.
We wait a little bit before we write the descriptions. We want the oil to settle, and then once we feel like it's gotten more into a stable place, then we write the descriptions or we send them off for paneling.
Change also the color. For example, until March is green. It's so green that it's impressive. Look like a dish soap. The same when you pour in your cup, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I want to know what do your grandparents and your parents think of your oil?
My grandparents, they're not here anymore, but I think they would be proud of me because it was a fruit that they reserved for themselves back in the days. Was a fruit very, very precious for my grandfather. It was like very precious. My parents, they're very proud of us. Very, very proud. We did a lot of steps and in such a short time. And they think that we believe it. So that's why we need all their love and their support.
But they believed in us before we fully believed in ourselves. His parents were like, okay, let's do it. I'm like, you're old. Like, how are you ready to start a business right now? And they still have so much energy and help us with harvest and are so enthusiastic and behind the brand. They're the biggest cheerleaders. Seriously, like when it comes time to harvest and press, they're like, okay, so what time are we going to harvest tomorrow? You guys can't come. It's too much work. And they're like, no, we'll be there.
That's great. I bet it gives them such a good feeling to see their history continuing and to have grown from just a family thing to actually something that people around the world are getting to taste and experience. It's really beautiful. And it brings me to another question. I have to say, most of our partners at Creative Edge Travel, when we're talking about producers, are really old people. And I often feel sad because I'm like, man, they're all like in their 80s. What's going to happen to us in 20 years, Although Italians do tend to live a really long time, but still. I'm wondering, amongst your friends and the people that you know, is there a general reduction in those who are willing to kind of pick up like you have and continue with their traditional family farms, whether it's for business or just for the family? Or is there a growing interest in going back to your roots and picking up these traditions that are slowly disappearing?
So I'll go first. Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of, this is a huge question and there's a lot of answers and multifaceted answers. So I think that there was a complete drop off of young people that were interested in following in their family's footsteps, becoming fishermen, owning restaurants, working in restaurants, being cooks, being chefs, olive oil producers, wine producers. I think that there's a lot of young people that weren't interested in it. And I also think there's a stigma around farmers being poor, uneducated people that, and no one would want to do that. What'd you say? Sorry.
Especially in southern Italy, right?
Yeah, especially in southern Italy. Like, oh, those poor southern Italian farmers who aren't educated and don't have access to X, Y, and Z. Like, we're elite. I have education. I work a desk job. There's definitely, that still exists in Italy to this day. That still exists in the US to this day. And that's something that we are continuously having to kind of correct. We're like, okay, guys, like, let's put this back on track, because farming is not easy. It is hard. I have worked a desk job. I've worked on projects with budgets of $2 billion for tech companies. This is hard. What we're doing is hard. My previous job was hard. This is really hard. It is nonstop. It's 24 hours. You have a timeline, and the timeline isn't, well, I can make it up next week. No, the timeline is, if you don't make it up right now, you're not going to have anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressure of harvest is very strong. You also have these elements you can't control, like the weather and navigating a market that's continuously changing. So there are these other elements that we don't really think about when we're thinking about farming. And I think we need to really get reconnected with our food. There is this resurgence of young people becoming more interested in agriculture, in the making of things, because they're seeing a lot of their traditions dying. And they see the world that their grandparents lived in dying. And while maybe some of the things that we want to take the good pieces of that old world and keep them with us. There's some things that can just kind of stay in the past. We don't need to bring those with us. But as far as making incredible tomato sauce, making incredible wine, olive oil, methods for harvesting vegetables and potatoes, we want to keep those with us. But those traditions are extremely important. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I saw a lot of people younger that are very involved in agriculture right now. I think that some people think that agriculture is cool. It's like a moda right now, and a lot of young generation, I like that, are really involved with this attachment to the soil. Well, everything comes from there. So very happy with that. It's very cool.
It's coming back. It's cool now, and I hope it's not a trend. Like, this should not be a trend. This should be something that's constant in our society. Like, agriculture is important, food is important, and respecting farmers and the way that their jobs and their place in this world is extremely important, because they're the people that are putting food on our tables.
Right. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. That I know it's an enormous undertaking to decide to do this for your life. So we're grateful for you, and we hope that a lot of other young people are going to step up and keep these traditions alive. And I can't wait to support you guys more. I wanted to ask you one last thing before we close off, back to like how to decide if it's a good oil. On the bottle, when you see where it's from, sometimes it'll just say Europe, or it'll say like Spain, Greece, and Italy. That's a no-no, right? Because that means that they've kind of just put all their poor quality oil together. That's what I've heard, and I want to make sure if that's right or not.
Good.
We like single source olive oil. We don't know what happened, you don't know what happened on this
It should be as specific and clear as possible. And again, if the brand is putting one country on the bottle, like we just have product of Italy, we don't have like our state name and the lot number and all that fun stuff. But you can, again, if you go onto our website, you can go on our social media, you can see where it's from. So I think it's really about just transparency within that brand. And if they're saying, hey, this is from here, then I would be able to trust that because I know exactly where it's coming from. But personally, I wouldn't buy olive oil from 5 different countries.
Awesome, great. So what year did you guys start again? And have you, I believe I read you have already won some awards and gone to some shows and things like that for your oil. So tell us a bit about like how the olive oil world is seeing you guys.
So we started in 2017, but remember harvest is always like 6 months behind when the product hits the shelves. So we started harvesting in September 2017. And then our products hit the US market in the spring of 2018. So it's been a little over 2 years of actually having sales in the US. And we won one of the world's best olive oils in 2019, May of 2019. And we are just bringing recognition to Calabrian olive oil. Again, it's a place when we approach grocery buyers or we talk to Italian food bloggers or people in the consumers in the US, they say your oil's from Calabria. It's a place that nobody has really been marketing for travel or for food, except for Calabrian peppers. That's the only thing that we have really seen marketed in the US when it comes to Calabrian food. So at first we were not welcomed at all. We had a lot of doors shut in our face, especially with the grocery buyers not being able to get into markets. Because consumers wanted oil from different regions in Italy. But we've always been like, no, we're not doing that. We're Calabrian. We make Calabrian oils. We're very proud of Calabria. And we want to show people the oils that come from that region in Italy. Even when we go to the press, when I'm at the press, I get a lot of interesting looks from the old Italian men. They're trying to figure out what this big American woman is doing out in the middle of nowhere in Calabria pressing oil. Yeah. And they always come up and ask us questions and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Why are you here? And we tell them that we have a Calabrian olive oil company and we sell directly to people in the US, and they get so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing Calabrian products and oils with the world. So they're very proud, and that makes us really happy.
Yeah, okay, so you're called EXAU oil. EXAU. You can show the bottle again.
Yeah.
EXAU.
EXAU olive oil. And you can find us on our website, EXAUoliveoil.com, and our social media handles on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook are @EXAU olive oil.
Yep, and there's a link in the description to this live coffee chat, so you can just click that. I also, if you like my background here, this is a place in Sicily, Castel Manfredonevo. And I actually have 10 free Zoom backgrounds. If you want to download them, the link is in the description. And just to read a couple of comments we had, Abba says, food is so important, and connecting ourselves better to how it is produced helps us see how connected we are to our food and should be more involved. We are what we eat.
I love that.
Lydia said, thank you. Yeah, so great comments. Thank you guys for watching and joining. Join us next week. We do these every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And if there's a topic you'd like us to cover, or if you'd like to hear more from EXAU and go deeper into something that came up, just leave us a comment. And thank you guys so much. It was really, really fun to connect with you. I feel like I learned so much in a short time about olive oil, and I'm definitely going to be advising my dad to smell the oil from 2000 and make sure it's okay.
Yeah, keep us updated on that one. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have oils are still, some of our oils are still in stock, but they're selling out really quickly. So if you want a bottle, please order one now. And then if you want to wait for the 2020 harvest, we also have the wait list started. And you can automatically be placed on the wait list by subscribing to our monthly newsletter on our website. And if you want more olive oil information, do not hesitate to reach out on social media. We also have quite a bit of information on our website where we're always sharing updates from government agencies such as the FDA and USDA, and also major industry updates from the International Olive Council, the California Olive Oil Council, and yeah.
Amazing, guys. It doesn't get better than this. You get to support two young people two entrepreneurs from different cultures, supporting their Calabrian roots that are, slowly disappearing. It's everything Creative Edge is about, is kind of getting out there, connecting with the local people, and in a way that is actually helping revitalize these traditions and keep these places and these people going. So please support them, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, come to Calabria in the future, and you'll probably want to come in like October when it's harvest and tuna season, because they'll be jarring the tuna and putting it under oil. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.